conversation. So I was just going to say a few words of introduction, and then I will go into a kind of a discussion around Freeport East, as I say, before we move on to Kieran and William Jude. So, sorry, move on to Alison and Will. So that's the shape of the morning. So I suppose the question is, why is it that skills is important to a district council? Because basically as a district council, we're not responsible for skills, we're not the county council who's got education responsibilities, we're not an education provider, and I was sort of reflecting on why we've sort of invested quite a lot of energy into this agenda. And I think kind of at one level, that's because as an organisation, we're effectively a group of people, primarily from tendering, supporting residents in tendering, and actually we're a group of people with a range of different skills. So we've got fitness instructors, we've got housing specialists, we've got people who work in environmental health, we've got finance, we've got legal. Actually, many firms are kind of, interestingly kind of here today, are quite specialist in terms of a group of people who know a lot about this particular sector. A district council is actually a group of skilled professionals across a huge range of different disciplines, working in a quite a tight geography. And therefore, skills is really important to us as an organisation, and we really sort of understand it. And that's why, for example, Career Track, the apprenticeship program that we run for ourselves and also with local partner organisations is really, really important. And even in the kind of few words of conversation before we started here, the importance of kind of growing your own and that importance of developing the skills base locally for local organisations has been raised by others as well. So it's something that's close to the heart of Tendring District Council, just because we know how important it is for us. But also as a group of kind of mainly not university, but mainly local residents working with and for local residents, we also understand how important it is for places to have really good quality, high quality skills, because obviously that means to being able to access high quality jobs and higher incomes and all the benefits that come from that. And my background is a range of different kind of interests, but partly in economic development. And it's also, I think, really interesting and important how skills operate within places. So it's not just about an individual having kind of a set of skills, it's about how these skills of the local population impact on that place. And I was reflecting on some different places in Essex and how that kind of plays out. So, or more widely, you've got obviously the places that have got local populations with high skills and local high skilled jobs, perhaps somewhere a bit like Chelmsford, might be like that. So, local opportunity, people benefiting from that opportunity, and therefore, a relatively strong, resilient economy. You've got community towns, you've got Saffron Walden, you've got Manningtree, where obviously local residents are benefiting from a set of good skills and accessing high quality jobs on the back of that, but to do so they're kind of commuting. If you look at the local economy, actually the local jobs are mainly in retail or the public sector. There may be some strong local employers, but generally the money that is being brought into that town comes from commuting out. And then intriguingly, when I worked in Essex before, I worked in the county council, worked in Tendring, someone like Basildon, I don't know how well people know, but effectively has high-skilled jobs, but actually local residents in the town aren't benefiting particularly from those jobs. So at Essex County Council there was a sort of a metric. I wouldn't want to be pressed too hard on this actually, but was a metric that at 4:30 in Basildon, if you drew a line around it, it was a high-skilled town. and 6 o'clock as a town, much less so as people have come home. So the point there is not to talk about doesn't, it's just an example, is to say that just because the opportunity is there doesn't mean that local residents are benefiting from that opportunity. And then obviously there's places where there's people have low skills locally, and also there are a lot of high skilled jobs locally. And for a lot of coastal areas, that's across the whole country, that can be an issue. And so the question then is, well, how do you create the opportunity by bringing in high skilled jobs, and then how do you ensure health that the situation so that the local people are able to then benefit from those jobs? And in a way, that's why Freeport East is such an important opportunity for the district, because it's an opportunity to bring in high quality jobs, and also then the question follows on, well, how are local people going to benefit from those jobs if they're not able to actually, if they don't have the necessary skills to take them up? So how do we kind of get that skills pipeline right? Which was sort of a long answer to that question of why is it that this agenda is really important for the district council, because it's a great opportunity for the place as well as for individuals. And we're keen to work with partners and bring people together to help to kind of get that right as the Freeport comes forward. So that's sort of just by way of introduction as to why we're interested in this as an agenda and why we've put this on as a conversation today. And then I was just going to move in to kick off by saying some words, as it says there, about Freeport East. So, just before I kind of bang on about it, how much do people know about what Freeport is? Is everyone? A bit, a lot? I'm getting this, right? Okay, that's great. So it's not, okay, so I will therefore go through, I think it's worth going through. Because it's actually a relatively technical programme, as I've discovered. The District Council, there's a partnership of organisations for Freeport East, and T4G District Council is one of those organisations, and I'm the officer who is leading on Freeport East within the District Council, which is kind of why I'm involved in why I'm kind of presenting today, and just to give a background to my involvement. So what is a Freeport? I mean, effectively, it's a sort of a tax break to stimulate economic growth. That's at a high level what it is. There's a customs regime, which means that if goods are kind of imported in and then that they are kind of tariffed and then they're exported, then there's a way of kind of going through a manufacturing process without having to pay tariffs. And so that kind of draws you towards a kind of a manufacturing opportunity across the 8 freeports in the country. But also, just if you're inside the Freeport boundary, then there's kind of lower property taxes and lower taxes on staff. So there's a range of kind of benefits that accrue to the organisations in that place. So the Freeports are kind of 2 things really. One is a customs regime about import-export, and one is a sort of a tax regime, which is just to aim to make what might be less viable more viable, and attract businesses that might have gone somewhere else to come into that tax zone, to redistribute kind of economic activity into the location. And then where are they? They are 8, as I say, across the country. I've highlighted our one, but there's others across, from Liverpool to Plymouth to the East Midlands. We've also got one in the Thames Estuary, so 2 locally at Teesside too. So there's not hundreds of them. They're quite a small programme, 8 across the country. So in terms of tendering, having one of those out of 8, it is a big opportunity locally. And then this is the technical bit, right? So this is the bit where the actual Freeport policy kind of sits in. I work in a district council. We're into business rates and all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of, but I'll try and explain. So effectively, the business rates that the businesses in the tax sites pay would have, a proportion of them would have gone to central government. That doesn't go to central government, it's retained locally within the Freeport area and can basically be spent on three things. One, and they're called part A, B and C, but don't worry about that, they're basically spent on three things. One is because a sort of a technical point so that local authorities don't lose out from the Freeport by losing tax revenue. So there's a small pot that kind of compensates the local authority for any losses. And then there's two other pots. One is money that effectively helps to pay for the infrastructure of developing the site in the first place. So something like Barside Bay is a very big regeneration site. You know, as we look at it in a minute, it's a bay, it's not a big site, and therefore there's lots of costs associated in terms of bringing that forward. So in principle, the business rates that would be paid by businesses that ultimately settle on that site and deliver economic growth would be able to be kind of recycled into repaying some of the costs of the infrastructure in the first place. And then pot C is the regeneration pot. So that's money to invest in the local economy, local projects, skills projects, for example. But there would be other projects too, zero carbon projects, regeneration schemes. So effectively, the idea is, if you get economic growth, instead of spending that tax going to central government across the whole pot of what government might spend money on, it's retained to enable that local growth to happen in the first place by paying for the infrastructure and to benefit the local economy and local residents by being spent on local projects. But Freeport East is one of the eight, and it's, as you probably know, aiming at becoming a clean energy hub. So so it would be on Barside Bay. Everyone must know Barside Bay, right? Yeah? No? Yeah. It's at Felixstowe and it's at Gateway 14 in Stone Market. So 3 tax sites. There are some other custom sites as well, which just deal with customers that don't get any tax benefits. And it's planned from 25 to 26 to see that coming forward. Business case has been submitted, both the outline for business case and has been supported by government. And there's an ongoing process of engagement with government on finalising that. And effectively, that's what it's aimed at, is kind of going from what Barside Bay looks like at the moment to a development platform that businesses can come into to support the offshore wind energy sector. That's the primary aim, which is something which people in Herefordshire have been talking about for many years, and there's been lots of attempts to bring forward Barside Bay at various points in the past. And then others will say more about this later, so I won't go into huge amounts of detail about this, but effectively, the North Sea is the opportunity. Generally, being on the coast is not an opportunity. There's a challenge of being on the coast because the economy is in the sea, but actually for us, the economy is in the sea. Huge new towers coming forward the size of the Eiffel Tower, and there's a whole lot of potential there. Increasing the capacity to support that sector through this new development. And that's actually, I was interested to see, it's not just the turbines, it's actually the cabling that kind of goes around it, so there's a lot of economic activity related to that. And then, when I talked about pot C and the fact that there's some money that could be spent on regeneration in the local area, it's also worth just saying that Freeport East, the local area, isn't just the sites themselves. The local area covers this a much wider geography, and the policy basically just drew a kind of a circle around the various freeports, and I think it's about 40 kilometres round. And so, as you can see, it may not be clear on the geography, but effectively, this is Tendring, Colchester, obviously Ipswich, and then Suffolk. So, income is generated through those business rates when development comes forward. Some of it can be spent on projects in tendering that could cover Clapton or other places, not just Harwich. And then the other point is, well, what that must be spent on skills. It's really important for the reasons I sort of outlined at the start. Careers aspirations, how do people kind of know that this is an opportunity, and then how do they get the skills that turns into an opportunity for them when those jobs come forward. And I mean, just sort of, this is just a slide that seeks to show some of the diversity of challenges within the tendering district. So this slide effectively is about deprivation, local deprivation, and it sort of shows the green areas are the more affluent, the red areas the less affluent, and you can kind of see that from obviously there's challenges within Clacton and Alton, but also Harwich is a very diverse place. Some areas are affluent, and some areas benefit from regeneration and new jobs coming in. So in summary, it's a once-in-a-generation opportunity to bring Bathside Bay forward through the Freeport East programme, and the aim is to bring in jobs, also work through how we kind of get the right skills in place so that people can benefit from those jobs and see that as kind of transforming places. So that's a quick canter through Freeport East, and we're 20 past 10. So is there any kind of quick questions to start with that kind of been sparked by that presentation? Am I kind of blind to you?
I've just got one question. Bathside Bay, I'm intrigued to hear now that this is going to be the answer for wind and everything else, because all of the history of Bathside Bay has been rather large containment. So what is it? I'm cynical about it.
Yeah.
We know very well the position. This isn't that the Freeport is to the benefit of the Port of Felixstowe and Harrodsburg. It's not really the benefit of tendering. I'm just saying to you, more containers down here, that's not going to bring in more business. I'm sure wind farms won't want to be blocked up by containers all over the place and container traffic and everything else. So what is it with Bathside Bay?
That's a really good question in terms of container port, green energy hub, what's the relationship between these two things? There is the expectation is that there will be a planning permission that is locked in for a container port, as we know, that is extant and substantive, so it has a permanent planning permission for a container port. The aim for the Freeport East programme is to bring in a change of use expected for 20 to 25 years, which would implement the container port as the base of it, which is effectively shuttering, about a mile's worth of shuttering and a lot of concrete that creates the platform. And then a planning application would come in for a green energy hub for, as I say, which would be expected to run for 20 to 25 years, businesses to come in. And then after that period, in a generation or so generation's time, to revert back to its container port usage. So that's kind of how the idea about how it would work. In terms of kind of benefit, the idea is that the benefit comes, I mean, obviously it's a commercial proposition, so there's going to be commercial benefit in bringing forward a proposition, but also in doing that, the jobs that would come alongside that would benefit the area too. So that's the aim.
Obviously not being from tendering, I don't know, but if you were to make Bathside Bay into a manufacturing area, are there the people and skills to work there, or will they actually be coming from outside the area?
And again, that is absolutely at the heart of it, because I think in the conversations we're likely to have today, there isn't, obviously because that sector isn't currently here in a big way, there is a manufacturing base in tendering. There are kind of manufacturing companies, but there are large engineering companies, for example. So the question is, how do we support the workforce so that as those opportunities come forward, we're clear on what they are, and then we're able to train people up in order to take them. Because there isn't, a lot of people sort of sitting around waiting for that with those skills in your pocket. So that's-
It would involve changing careers and reskilling, which is the good part as well. It's quite a complex issue, isn't it? It's interesting that actually we are changing from wind farm to the assembly centres. One of my questions was, the lower skilled, or shouldn't say vocational people. There's not vast numbers, correct, but that's because the ones that actually are good at vocational assembly work are doing work somewhere else. Travelling to Colchester, for example.
Brilliant. Okay, so at the end we can kind of pick up on a wider discussion. I think Freeport will kind of come into that. But for now, Kieran, would you like to...
So I'll just quickly go through this. There's a little film at the end, given a bit of a period of time, so I'm trying to stick to that. I'll slip a little bit, so that we might go, but I'll check, just so I've got this right. Yeah, I'll introduce myself. My name is Kieran Drew. I'm the production manager for Gallop Wind Farm. I work for RWE, who manage and operate Gallop Wind Farm. And my previous life, I used to work for Siemens, who are an OEM for wind turbines, notably site manager at Complete Sands, the only other wind farm in Tendring, a bit smaller than the current wind farm. My previous life, I was a British Army, I was company commander in Afghanistan, but brought my soldiers home, which is probably my greatest achievement out of all the things I've ever done. I currently continue to serve as an army reservist in an organisation that supports, is a silver award winner for the Covenant, Armed Forces Covenant, and supports me in my reservist work. And RWE is one of the largest leading energy companies. It's the second largest offshore wind operator. I developed and supported the build and operation of the wind farm on behalf of our project partners. Bear in mind, all wind farms their investment comes from private money, not government money. We do pay for the lease on the Crown Estate of the wind farm, and obviously the government supports us through various schemes and power price. There's a number of operational wind farms that we as RWE manage. We're not a small organisation. We manage, as I said, the second largest wind farm. Notably, you'll see Galloper, the Great Gavard, and also we now do manage London Marine, so all down the East Coast and the Humber Gateway. So a lot of activity supported by RWE. In development, we're developing a number there. Notably, I'm not sure this has got a point on it, but notably you'll see 5 estuaries and North Falls. They're the extension projects to Gallard and to Galloper. And that's the future. Number of under construction, but they're in development. They're not being constructed, but they're in development. So please ask me any questions about those because they have their own separate media outlet, but they are being managed by RWE. Galloper Wind Farm, 27 kilometres off the Suffolk coast. We have two buried subsea export cables. We generate up to equivalent of 380,000 homes, which is about 5 Colchesters, probably about 6 Harwiches. And we have 26 depth of water between 27 to 36 metres underwater. So there's a bit of underwater, but there's a lot above the water. And we have 1 offshore substation and 1 onshore substation. All goes into Maidstone, just by sidewalk. Just so you can just put it into perspective where our locations are. So onshore substations at Sizewell, our construction bases at Lowestoft, but most importantly, our operations bases in Harwich in Port. Just a bit more about the turbines. They're 6.3 megawatt turbines, direct drive, so nuclear gearbox, latest technology. The technology remains, they're just getting bigger and bigger. They just move the status of the generators to increase the size. A bit more technical. Up to a maximum blade height is 180 metres. We have 56 of those turbines. Siemens Gamesa constructed them, pre-assembled, a number of them in Lowestoft and also Hartlepool, and then Great Yarmouth, and then they were barges shipped out, constructed. There is a film that demonstrates that, to just put it in perspective. And yeah, our daily way to work is on a crew transfer vessel, out carriage daily, sail out, transfer onto the turbine, do what we need to. It's like having vehicles or whatever need servicing out in the field. We manage that on a daily basis and then return. My major projects we get we call so crew transfer vessels for daily work, and then we have support operations vessels, SOVs, if we're out in the field for longer, if we've got a major project. Yeah, a bit more about the turbines, just a bit of detail. Wingspan of a A360 Airbus is probably one of our blade sizes. They are a big old thing. And each turn, one turn of the blade will light your house for 24 hours. And they turn, almost 60 times a minute. So it's quite a big effort. Turbine construction, yeah, as you can see, it's based in, we put the foundation in, we put a monopile on top of it, we build the tower, the sail on, blades on, and that's all pre-assembled and then shipped out on barges with a jacked up vessel, jacked up into the ground, lifts itself on the crane and then assembles the turbines. I'm going one way. Let's see, right. Don't know what's going on here. Excuse me a second. Yeah, you're able to. Right, okay. Yeah, as already said about construction, so we've got the onshore substation that was built in Leicester. Because everything now is by consent, so everything we do manage now, consent, we bury them on substation, so you can't see it. The fact that it's next door to Sizewell C, it's neither here nor there. But consent is our major, one of our major planning guidance, so that we are, encouraging the wildlife and ecology of wherever we're established. And in our offshore installation, we make sure that we bury them with cables. There's no, it only goes from pylons after it goes out from the national grid. So everything we did, we achieved it within our time zone, in cycle, and we finished construction before the established time. And we used various different companies to do construction. The offshore substation was constructed in Hartlepool, pre-assembled and sailed out and installed in the North Sea. Our operations and maintenance base was constructed in 2018, completed in 2019. There's about 60 employees. We moved in 2019, end of 2019. By 2020 March, I booted everyone out that wasn't needed. We all developed as work from home, and we managed to operate the wind farm with during COVID and not miss a heartbeat. We serviced all our turbines, we kept everybody safe. We had to move the control room in a number of locations through the lockdown process. We managed it and we won an award for it. We were the National Energy Lockdown Champions for the COVID lockdown. And the only ever issue it was we won it. So we're very proud of that. Yeah, we work 24/7. So we've got a 23-year lifespan, basically based on the lease of the turbines in the North Sea to the Crown Estate. How that lease gets extended, the development of the turbine, it's a new technology. That's the guidance we get. We employ probably totally in total 60 people. 40% of those are from tendering. The remainder are within the footprint of Colchester, Ipswich, South Suffolk and North Essex. We have a guidance that is an hour within getting to getting to work. We've got 3 apprentices based up at the pipeline who are with us, been with us for, they're on their 4th year now, that's their last year. They spent 2 a day at college, at Lowestoft College, and then 2 days offshore, which comes to their 37 hours. Offshore learning their skills. And then we have another 2 up in North Wales doing a bespoke course, which is a national part of the national RWE wind turbine apprenticeship. Operating a wind farm, yeah, it's about 90 minutes sail out on a good day. I only ever pick a good day where I go. Otherwise, it get a bit rough. And each of our crew transfer vessels there can take 12 technicians. So, to a bit of a technology summary, we've got the turbines who are built by Siemens, GOC, the foundations, BPMS put the cabling in to the substation, which was built by Petrofac, and then again the export cable going into the substation at Leiston, and then from Leiston directly into the national grid. That's how it works. Comes into the turbine at 690, goes out to the substation at 132 kV, and then at 302 pushed out from the substation at 400 kV to the national grid, and then 11,000 volts to the little substations, and then 240 into your homes, go from AC to DC, and then back to AC. Without getting too technical. Community engagement, yeah, we try and engage in community. We are part of the Essex Community Foundation, and we have a certain sum of money that that people can request through the Essex Community Foundation that we share amongst the local networking. We also do events and within the local community. We also support education. I'm a STEM ambassador, part of our award of the National Lockdown Energy. I did a virtual presentation with an audio that went national about wind farms, very similar to this presentation, to encourage young people throughout the country to understand what and how we do business, and also to get them into potentially thinking about the technology and the education requirements for working on offshore wind or renewables. Yeah, so getting into career into offshore wind, well, we have an apprenticeship program, 5% of 5 people from 60, which is quite a high percent. We recruit from all sorts of industries, we recruit from manufacturing, we require people that are not just engineers and mechanics, we also require people that have logistical backgrounds, we require people that have a health and safety background, can work in a control room, have an operation background. Yeah, we recruit from the armed forces, who obviously close to my heart, because they have that background, especially when you've got Colchester Garrison down the road. One of the biggest employers, unfortunately, not all the skill sets, but there's an ability to train that. Bear in mind that part of the role, working, sailing out, getting onto the North Sea, working in a small location, in a nacelle with a small team of guys, well, that takes some sort of characteristics that you can find in that sort of organisation. It's the technical bit that we need to mature, really is. I can't change the person, I can train them. Yeah, so we lots of goods service providers, fabrication, land. So you know, we do go to try and employ. We have that. It's in our gift to employ local resources. Also, we have non-local, but obviously we need to go out for specialists who are national companies that just aren't in this area. I'm hoping, and I'm not sure how this works. You need to do it. It's working. So a short video. Can you hear that? Is that loud?
Gallop offshore wind farm is a 353 megawatt wind farm, 30 kilometres off the coast of Suffolk. The amount of green power the wind farm is expected to generate on average each year is approximately equal to the annual electricity needs of around 380,700 UK households. The wind farm became fully operational in March 2018. To support the ongoing operation and maintenance of the wind farm, state-of-the-art O&M facility has been purpose-built in Harwich. It represents an investment of £10 million and will support the wind farm for its predicted lifespan of 23 years. In late 2018, construction of the O&M phase commenced. This included the new access road onto and phase itself. All were delivered on budget and on schedule, and the facility became home to around 60 full-time employees in early 2020.
Caliper is run by Energy. Energy is a service provider who developed and now operates Caliper Wind Farm. The investors, the other investors, apart from Energy, are Siemens Financial Services, Macquarie, Sumitomo, and ESB. They've been involved since the development stage and now through to the operations stage. Yeah, so the local support has been fantastic. With tendering council locally have supported us all the way through the development of the wind farm and now the development on this site. We've got great support from Harwich International Port through construction and now in operations. So very supportive locally, and I think that will help develop the industry in the area.
So we're currently in the operational control room. The operational control room maintains and monitors the wind farm for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have simulative features whereby the operational controller and the marine coordinator use power board to monitor and log where personnel are on the wind farm, and also for incident management and general day-to-day control we have the electronic dispatch log.
So some client responsibilities include stock management, import and export of spare parts, and carrying out the logistics process with mobilisation of the CCVs. Previously, we worked over 3 to 4 different sites. Now with one building with an integrated warehouse, it saves a lot of time and dramatically improves communication between departments. It's a lovely new building, it's a very modern design, it's got a hot desk setup, which is very good for a flexible working pattern, fantastic facilities, and all good from around across the company.
Within my job, we have the 3 team members, and our main function is to ensure that we can get all the technicians, materials, and tools out to the wind farm to carry out maintenance and repairs. Today, we have 2 techs who are available on the energy side. We also have Siemens who will have pretty much 20 technicians going out during the summer campaigns. Definitely, it's time stretch points and a lot of changes. If the turbine stops, we have to rejig everything from materials to the technicians to the planning. With the new facilities, it's made such a difference as far as the pontoons nearby before we had to travel by car to get there. The stores was in a different location to where the office was. We're all linked in, so it's easier for conversations, for planning, for quick changes. It's a nice building, it's nice to work in. We have little breakout areas if you want to have informal chats. Canteen areas big enough for a bit more socialising. We've got outdoor areas where you can either have like a walk and talk meeting or just a bit of breakout time during your day.
My family actually fished off this coast for generations, so being able to work offshore in a skilled job and still have some heritage. What went before us is great for me. Be a place in Harwich, have a new building here, means that we can really interact with the local supply chain. Makes it easy for us to engage with small engineering firms, or if we need some tools quickly, we can use the local tool supply.
The difference coming into this building is night and day from where we were previously. It's a place that I certainly look forward to coming to work. I know I speak on behalf of the technicians and all the back office team as well. The views we get from our windows are sensational. It's a purpose-built building. It's certainly been apprentices recruited locally who are currently in their first term up at Lowestoft College. So for 2 days a week they do that. The remaining 2 days they work with us here. They're given projects by the team that they're mentoring them, and they rotate groups every 6 months through either operations, logistics, or engineering. And they'll do that for 4 years.
At the moment, we're doing 2 days a week at college and 2 days a week at the operations base in Harwich. Most of just little tasks around the office at the moment. I'm sure we'll see training.
There's a mixture of qualifications you need to get to go offshore. So working at heights, sea survival, fire safety, manual handling, first aid. There's like quite a few we need to get, and we should be doing them in a couple of weeks, which I'm very excited about.
At college, we've done a lot of theory-based stuff at the moment, working health and safety and making work more efficient, and then a lot of practical stuff as well, basic hand tooling and working with hydraulics and pneumatics.
At the end of the apprenticeship, I'll be a pretty qualified offshore technician.
I have a level 3 qualification in technician standard engineering, and by the end of it will be embedded with Siemens.
I do really enjoy being an apprentice, yeah. I like just getting to know the team, like being around people that's in the industry. I think that's a really good idea about apprenticeships in general.
The best part about being an apprentice is learning new skills and getting qualifications while being paid.
At work, it's definitely more enjoyable than I expected it to be. Everyone makes you feel very welcome, very comfortable. It's just a very friendly, welcoming environment.
We, Energy, are here for the long term. Galliford Wind Farm is here for the long term. 25 years, we will continue to manage and maintain those turbines through that period of time. I think this is a new chapter in Harwich's history. It ties in with what they do on the ports, seafaring. For the last few years, they've been involved in construction of a number of wind farms from here. But now this time, this is their first operation and maintenance. And I also think it's renewable, sustainable energy that's coming to Harwich as a business. You know, it's keeping the lights on in Essex, South Suffolk, dirty waste management.
Do you want to stop that? Was it? Okay. Yeah, so basically, just there's one reference in there about energy. Energy used to be part of RWE, but it's now it merged with ECNR, which is E.ON. ECNR is the E.ON Climate Renewables. So we merged, which is why we've got an extensive, bigger, larger portfolio, and also the fact that energy has just gone back to RWE and is now known as RWE Renewables. So you might hear the two. We have changed the name as you drive to last slide day, and it's RWE. So it's just a name change, nothing, but not a company change, if you like. Although we've grown as a company and developed our RWE is now developing renewables over its fossil fuels that it does on around Europe. That's the only change really to that. Gosh, those apprentices look young. They still look young now. That was a couple of years ago. We made that before not doing it. So, any questions on any of that?
Thank you, that's really interesting. Really good presentation. Just a quick question about recruitment, really. I think really interesting stats about recruitment, and it appears to be a national kind of challenge with recruitment at the moment. Just wondering if you've had similar challenges. And
yeah, certainly. I mean, our apprentices are those that we develop without skills. You know, so alternatively, we require individuals that have got skills that, and also got the ability to work offshore, you know, get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, sort their kit out, sort their tools out, sort their work orders out, their permits, and be fully competent in working in either like low voltage, mechanical and high voltage. So where are those people in tendering? That's a challenge. When the main employers in our footprint are either garrison, and that's you know, an air assault brigade, and so that's a challenge. And then you've got the university, and who don't really, who aren't catering for the skills that we need, you know, and that's because that's not their direction. You know, we send our apprentices to North Wales to do a Freeport course. That's probably not answering your question, but it goes back to why is it difficult to recruit in the area? Yeah, we have to be selective. And as you can see, North Wales and 5 estuaries are coming online, which is why we're in the development process. I'm not going to speak about it, but I know the only way I can do that is go to schools as a STEM ambassador. You've got my time to try and encourage you know, the future, our future, to get into more engineering skills, more renewables, logistics, control room. Hopefully that demonstrated that, it wasn't very loud, but demonstrated the skill sets required. It's not just the offshore technician, it is the fair chunk there, and the engineering and the logistics and the control room. Does that answer your question?
It does, and I think it kind of goes back to almost that point that Lee made at the start, and Peter was saying at the start about the jobs, keeping, retaining those jobs locally as well. So.
I mean, what you'll see in one of the filters, one of the ex-Langar engineers, fabricators, who works with us, one of my team members, one of my embedded team estimator,
one of the apprentices started with us too.
Oh, right, well, we're not in the business of coaching, but the point really is that there's a limited resource out there. So I need to go out and I go to Hamilton House where they do the engineering for heroes courses to try and get also people. It doesn't matter how old you are. It's have you got those skill sets? Have you got that background? Are you able to do it? We do not discriminate male, female. I've certainly got some facts and figures that we can discuss on our round table. If I sit here too long, I'm into somebody else's time. Sorry.
I just wanted to say as well, it's not just the skills, it's actually physically enough to do it. I've been on the gangplank and had the gear on. That's heavy stuff. I'm quite fit, and to say to be able to then get on the boat and get up the ladder.
Yeah.
It's heavy stuff. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be physically fit to do it. I mean,
That's the offshore jobs, they are.
oh yeah.
The majority of the work is offshore, and in construction is offshore.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are the onshore skills that are available, and they are. You think that they'd be easier to employ those kind of people. But yeah, the medical, don't get me wrong, like each year I have to do my medical, but it gets tougher and tougher. And I reckon, I've run London Marathon 3 times. It still isn't easy. There is a level of fitness and because, you have to climb that ladder. The lift inside may not work, you might have to climb and get it fixed. I've climbed that turbine, one of those turbines 3 times in a day. Felt it the next day, I can tell you. But my guys don't fit. That is also a good point, thank you.
It's great that you've built the operation out of Siemens and you've employed 60 people from over there, etc., etc. And it's steady jobs in business for the next 20, 25 years. There are not going to be many more wind farms built off of Essex or Suffolk. The growth is in Dogger Bank, it's in the North Sea. Why would
I think you might have missed that slide.
The big growth is North Sea with SSE and other people. So if you're SSE, if you're Equinor, if you're Orsted, if you're RWE, for assembly and manufacturing, why would you choose Harwich when you've got people from the oil and gas industry, Aberdeen and Teesside and Arth, and to do that? Why would you choose?
That's an absolutely brilliant question. Absolutely brilliant question. Whenever we put out jobs for for offshore wind, people must have it in their data, Indeed data, job thing. And the amount of CVs I get from Aberdeen is kind of. I'm not saying I filter them out because they they're not skilled. They generally they are skilled in oil and gas, not in renewables. It's a different skill set. Trust me. Also, I've learned and I've been burned by recruiting people, especially our original apprentices, who some of our finished their apprenticeship in North Wales, were based in North Wales sites. Yeah, they were fine for us for a year and 2, maybe, and as soon as jobs came back up where they came from, they went back. We are committed, absolutely committed. We learned that the people that live in Tendring or in the footprint of Essex and South Suffolk stay here, and their families are here, they've got their homes here. The relocation, we've had an engineer who lasted 9 months, came from Wales. Came from actually the guy referred to in the steel industry, he resigned. He wants to go. Obviously, he had a lot of thinking time on it before. Went back and they actually regretted it, but asked for his job back and said no, we've already recruited. So we'd already recruited somebody to take his place. He left to go work at Lowestoft and went, no, I want to be back in the industry. So because he did local, he's already got 1 foot in the door. is key. Like we've been both, we are absolutely committed to local
I think for me there's a challenge in how to expand what we've done to manufactured assembly when there are more obvious locations with more advanced carriage and more local.
There isn't. I can tell you now, when I worked at Conflict Arms and I was doing major projects, I always sailed out of, I needed large vessels, I would always sail out of Navy on. And I did the oil exchange, sail out of Navy on. It's a brilliant port. It's access to our wind farm. If we're doing London Array now, and we're doing it through an SOV, because now we're taking it on, we would probably sail out of Harrington. Because Ramsgate, where they sail, isn't a deep water port.
I was just going to say, how motivating as an economic development person in 10 district council to have to describe how committed you are to the
Yeah, definitely. I'm not being funny. It was touch and go, so it was easy to build a wind farm that was that building. Not through 10 district council, but through natural woodland and all the habitation and all that kind of stuff. There was challenges, but we knew that it was the right place. We committed to it. We committed to £10 million worth of building, that access road, and also, where and when and how the other wind farms are operated. I can't talk about that really as a subject matter expert because I don't work for North Falls or the development of North Falls or for 5 estuaries. So I can only talk about California.
The sad thing really is, Tenby missed some good opportunities. Tenby has come to this really too late. I'm not saying it's too late because it's still, it's catching up.
Yeah, no, that's a statement, not a question.
Well, I know, I tried for many, many years to get some of the other people to come down here, and there was a willingness, but I have to say that there wasn't any support from Essex County Council and going in from Tenby. Otherwise, I think we could have got more wind farms here already.
Yeah, I mean, Gamal was constructed out here, and certainly, and some of the construction was done here, some of the work and the jobs. So, that what happened in the past, we've learned the lessons, or hopefully the local authority, I'm going to bracket it down, has learned this lesson and realised that actually there's a development focus. I mean, some people will claim, and I don't know, I don't come from Harris, that it's a little bit stuck in the 70s. But it's breaking out of that. It's discovering that there is a bit more, and that's just culturally, and regionally, every area is different. And it is now seeing that, and you're probably seeing it too with more work and more development of engineering projects, definitely. And it's, you've got to sort of break the stone to develop it and show that it can be done, and we can recruit, and we start to recruit locally. Most of our people recruit are locally. And Siemens are the same. Siemens are the same. They want their apprentices to be local, not from, because they do their national people who will be with us for the next 10 years to support the maintenance and so on. I better cut short because I'm not going to cut into someone's time.
Thank you.
I'm happy to discuss anything about recruitment and the development and how many people we recruit in the fullness of time. The whole business as an industry.
Thank you, that's a really good conversation. Would you like to talk to the Culture Institute, the skill side?
Thank you. This slide, is that slide?
So, do you want to just, show you? Yeah, you've got it.
Oh, there we go. Well, good morning, everybody. It is my genuine pleasure to be here today talking to you from the point of view of Colchester Institute. And as not all of you are local, and not everybody knows everything about Colchester Institute, I'll just start by giving a few kind of background, contextual comments, if you like. So, Colchester Institute is a college of further and higher education, the largest in North Essex by a long way. We have 5 main delivery sites. The largest is over in Colchester, but 3 of those 5 sites are actually here in Tenby, and I'll say a bit more about what and where they are in a moment. In any year we see about 9,000 students come through our doors. They're ranging from the kind of 4,000 16 to 18-year-old full-time students through to about 500 degree students, about 1,500 apprentices, and the rest are mainly part-time adults, either on government-funded programmes or actually what we call full-cost delegates. So people who actually attend the college on short training courses paid for by their employer or themselves, they're often self-employed. And we cover a very, very wide range of vocational subject areas, or professional and technical subject areas, as we often like to call them. We're an Ofsted Good College. We had an inspection in May 2022, and in all 8 judgment categories we were found to be good. So we're very pleased with that. And just to say a little bit more about what we do here in tendering, it's already been referenced this morning. We run the Harwich Energy Skills Centre from Hamilton House at Parks and Quay. The Harwich Energy Skills Centre was established in 2011 in response to the opportunities around offshore wind. But as has been referenced this morning, that was a bit slower coming along and tending to happen a bit further north. But we established a programme through the Employer Ownership of Skills Pilot. Some people here may have been involved or known about that, where we worked with a number of different employers to put together an engineering training programme that would give people the skills they needed to succeed in securing work and succeed in work offshore. And we did some of that partly in conjunction with what was then Lowestoft College, now East Coast College, who helped us with some of the offshore work because they were an established maritime centre. So we set that up and had some fantastic successes, working with people who had been unemployed for 6 months or more in the main, and getting them into work. But often that work was further afield initially. Some people secured work from Scotland and elsewhere, and we realised that actually we needed to broaden the programme and offer a wider set of engineering skills that could get people into work locally in different types of engineering, and we did just that through the Passport to Work programme. And it has been really successful, and it continues today. It's now called Engineering for Industry, but it's a very similar programme to the one we started over 10 years ago, a 4-week introductory programme followed by a 12-week more detailed programme for those who were successful in the first 4 weeks, and then opportunities, introductions to employers and so on. We also run from that site the Engineering Heroes programme that was referenced earlier, which is a programme building on a long-standing and very successful programme we run in Colchester called Building Heroes, which is about providing skills to service leaders from all of the armed forces. And they come along and do a programme in construction. Obviously it's around various construction skills, but this one's engineering. Then again, will help them to move out of their service life and into different careers in the civilian world. So that started and has been successful. We started a new cohort of engineering heroes in January. So and then the other sites that we have in tendering are on Dovercourt High Street. We have an adult skills centre. We used to call these the learning shops. People might know them as the learning shops, but they're now an adult skills centre, recently rebadged and relaunched, which offers programmes to adults in English, Maths, ICT, employability, and including things like CSCS cards. So it's trying to get people the qualifications, the tickets, if you like, and the confidence as well, some of the softer skills to secure work. And so we have that in Dovercourt, and very recently we've seen a real surge in interest, in particular in those CSCS cards and in programmes like employability for construction and so on, as the opportunities are starting to open up locally. Then over in Clacton, we also have an adult skills centre, and literally this morning it's being fitted out in a new location at Clacton Hospital. And that has come about as a result of a big piece of partnership working that we're doing with ESNEF, the East Suffolk and North Essex NHS Foundation Trust, which runs the Colchester, Ipswich, Clacton Parish Hospitals and others. And that's been the project that was established to working hand in hand with the Hospitals Trust to recruit and train people for the new community diagnostic centre at Clacton Hospital. This is a brand new diagnostic centre with lots of jobs in it, and their big concern was how we're going to staff this. It's been conversational warning, and my own reflections on this I'll try to include over the coming slides. That has been, again, very, very successful. We've actually got, since starting just before Christmas last year, we've actually got 47 people into jobs, 26 of those with SNF, the remainder mainly in other parts of the NHS. And I think the real success about that has been that there has been a really clear line of sight for those engaging with the programme to a job. So it starts with a sort of diagnostic conversation really to find out where people are and what they're interested in, clinical or non-clinical routes and so on. It then goes on to a series of masterclasses and work placement opportunities within hospitals 2 days a week, looking at different aspects of diagnostics and so on. And then it goes into a kind of job finder phase, and it has worked incredibly well. And we've got, as I say, 47 people now into work who are either not in work or were in low pay, low skilled, seasonal maybe work and securing jobs. So these are two examples, what we've done in Harwich and what we're doing down in Clacton, of working with employers or groups of employers to put on programmes that very directly feed skills, feed this kind of pipeline of employees into their organisations. And I really, really hope that the Freeport can be another example of that in the coming years. So that's a bit of background. Obviously, needs no introduction, this topic. People around the table are familiar with all of these publications, but I think what this just briefly demonstrates is, this is very topical, very important at the moment. The government has set some targets for kind of net zero by 2050 and so on, and we are wanting very much to play our part in helping to achieve those. So we're often asked, and I'm often asked, what are you doing about preparing people for green jobs? And often my response is, well, actually, what are green jobs? Because they're largely very similar to the jobs that people do now, but actually applied in a different industry or sector. So I've pulled up a list of bits and pieces there again. You know this is as well as I do, but they fall into a number of areas, and many of these are going to be in high demand locally and regionally. We've heard all about. Obviously offshore wind already. It's not far, you don't have to go far up the coast to Sizewell, where, as well as there being the onshore hub there, there is likely to be a nuclear operation in due course, and a number of other opportunities on there. So many sectors will be taking people into what you could badge as green jobs. But I put a little line on the bottom there as well, saying actually just about everybody's going to have a green job in the future, because we're all going to have to do what we do in a more sustainable, in a greener fashion. So I don't think of green jobs. When I think about my college and the vast range of subjects that people study, I don't think, they're performing arts. Green isn't anything to do with them. There isn't a single sector or department in our college that doesn't need to be thinking about this and helping students to develop the right skills and attitudes towards a sustainable future. And young people have their ears open to this. They are absolutely keen to get involved and to take this agenda forward. So what are green skills? If green jobs are all of those things, what are the skills? And again, to me, it's mostly not rocket science, if that makes sense. They are often the skills that people are developing now and will continue to develop into the future. So, we've talked a bit about the Freeport this morning and heard a lot about it. Actually, for the next few years, people aren't going to be doing those jobs. They're not going to be working in that manufacturing centre for offshore wind or in the hydrogen hub. Actually, it's got to be built first, and then they'll be getting into those jobs. So there is going to be a massive demand for these sorts of subject areas, the kind of groundworks, general building, civil engineering, manufacturing, fabrication and welding, we're told is one of the biggest job demands for new nuclear developments when they're being created and so on, and of course modern methods of construction. And again, in discussions with people who are involved in that sector, which we've been in very recently, and what they're saying to us at the moment, actually the people we're most interested in are your carpenters and joiners, because this is about cutting, it's about marking out, it's about putting things together. You might not be doing it with wood, you might be doing it with different materials, but the skills are really the same. And retrofit is obviously something people often think of when they think of green skills, but actually the critical skills for most retrofitters are plumbing or electrical installation skills, because what you can't do is turn up to someone's house and install an air source heat pump without decommissioning the gas boiler, and you need those electrical skills for the installation and so on. So and a number of other things there. Same with green vehicles. There is an awful lot about vehicles in general that people need to know before they can start to service, repair green vehicles. So just to give you a few statistics of those first two kind of blocks of subjects on there. I'll move on to that in a moment. I'll talk about that. So this is what we offer at the moment in terms of some of these skills, if you like. And we offer programmes up to level 3, which is A-level equivalent, but obviously our programmes are more vocational in all of those subject areas. So the young people and adults that we're training today will be, I'm sure, moving into these green skills and green jobs of the future. And we also offer, through our university centre, programmes up to degree level, honours degree level, in engineering and construction, so high national certificates and diplomas, and honours degrees as well in construction management. And those are the two blocks that I was talking about earlier. So in terms of some figures, we currently have today on our books, if you like, on our roll, 1,928 students, mainly young people, but some adults as well, on the programmes in those top two sections of there. And 580 of those have a tendering postcode. So 26% of our students in Colchester, because those programmes will all be in Colchester or Braintree, which is our other side. I mentioned 5, I've only told you about 4, so Braintree campus is our other one. But the majority of those will be in Colchester, studying in Colchester, but over a quarter of them are travelling to Colchester on those programmes from the tendering, somewhere in the tendering district. And actually, I was quite excited to see when I asked for some data in readiness for this, that on our basic construction programmes, brickwork, multi-skills, painting and decorating the trowel trades and wood occupations, so carpentry and joinery, 39% of our students, that's a total of 182 on those programmes, come from the tendering district. So there are skills here. They might be studying and learning those skills in Colchester. They might be on an apprenticeship programme or a full-time programme, but they're living in tendering and they are around here. Then we also run our various programmes at the Energy Skills Centre, which I mentioned earlier, Engineering Heroes and Engineering for Industry, and we run an Environmental Sustainability Programme, which is a desk-based online programme for people in a range of different sectors through our adult skills centres. We also have a full-cost environmental sustainability programme and an energy efficiency programme for heating installers, but there's a lot of development work going on as well around other courses. This year, for the first time, we're offering, in fact, we're imposing on our students a carbon literacy programme for every full-time student in the college. But what we're doing is developing that for employers. So we want to go out to different employers to run that for all of their employees or any of their employees that it's of relevance to. Because it's a general carbon literacy programme. It's not for any specific sector, but it's something that we want to start to push out in the next few weeks and months. We're also developing with some employers electric vehicles short programme to help to upskill people working in motor vehicle with more traditional qualifications, and we're also looking at and working with a range of other partners, retrofit heat pumps and solar installation. And what we're trying to in fact we've secured some funding actually to re-establish at the Colchester campus a renewables workshop, and I'll say probably a bit more about that in a moment. So what future opportunities are there? Well, there is an opportunity to do more out of Harwich, and I think that as the demand grows, then our supply can and will grow. But the questions this morning about how easy it is to find skills and to find employees have been interesting for me, because we have the same problems. I think every employer has issues, and one of the things we've noticed in Harwich in recent months, the last year or so, is that the number of students coming to us is diminishing. Maybe we're a victim of our own success, in that we've worked with a lot of unemployed people over the last 10 years, and many of them have gone on into work, and they keep in touch with us. In fact, 2 or 3 of the staff at the Harwich Centre started as students. They've gone out of work, so they've come back, and they're teaching part-time with us as well, which is a great success story. But we are finding that there are fewer and fewer adults out there looking for training, because work is plentiful. I was hearing yesterday on the news that we've got the lowest unemployment figures in 50 years. So there aren't those people who are thinking, what shall I do next? A lot of them are in work. But it's about taking some of those people from the lower skilled and lower paid work and giving them better opportunities. But it is having that kind of line of sight into work. So I think working together is going to be really, really important, so that employers and others can come along and say to our students, as you already do, these are some of the opportunities at the end of this, but actually to say not just to the students, because we've got them, it's the others that we haven't got, that aren't coming through the door in such numbers now. So there is the opportunity to expand there. I'm pleased to say that Essex County Council has secured some funding to do a feasibility study around expanding the Harwich Energy Skills Centre, whether that's within the same facility at Hamilton House or elsewhere. We're certainly open to a conversation about that. I think that would be a fantastic opportunity. But we're also expanding our construction and engineering facilities in Colchester in line with heavy demand. We've just putting the finishing touches on converting a block that was previously mainly occupied by art and design students into a series of construction workshops, because that's where the demand is. We're also using some strategic development funding to establish a renewables workshop down there as well, with the same pot that's helped us to convert those construction workshops. And we'll be bringing online with that some new programs, which is great. And we're looking as well through the Multiply programme, which is a nationally funded programme which is about improving adults' maths skills, whether or not we can give that a kind of energy reduction slant, and get people improving their maths but applying it to, how much water should I put in the kettle if I don't want to be, wasting money? Is it better to leave the heating on all the time or have it coming on and off? It's all of that stuff. And that's something that one of our staff members is working on at the moment. What we need now in the future is not plain sailing. It's difficult in every sector, and further education is absolutely no exception to that. But these are some of the things that, I would say have held us back a little bit. It's taken forever, and it's not happened yet in a lot of areas, for the awarding organisations whose qualifications our students work towards to actually get on board with the green agenda. And we've been offering some additionality, some extra learning around things like electric vehicles to our motor vehicle students, kind of free of charge. It's not been in the syllabus yet, and so we're doing it because we know it's important for them, we know they're interested in it, but it's not part of the syllabus, so we're either doing it at the expense of something that is, or we're doing it in additional hours and time that effectively we're not funded for. So often it's employers that have to kind of pick that up, take students with their kind of raw skills and say, well, actually, we now need to opt on. We need those in the qualifications, and we're working with the awarding organisations pushing, but it's a slow process. So we need some new qualifications that are more fit for purpose and fit for tomorrow, not today and yesterday, as they often are. But the other thing that we struggle with, I mentioned it earlier, is recruitment. Because whilst employment is buoyant, just about all of our teaching staff have had another career. Because you can't come and teach plumbing or being a chef or being a social worker or a computer programmer, possibly a computer programmer, but there are lots and lots of subjects that we teach that you have to have done. And that's what's really inspiring for our students, that people have done the job and they come and share that experience and expertise with students and inspire them to take their jobs in the future. But the difficulty is actually enticing people out of those industries, particularly these industries which pay very well, to come and teach in a further education college. And it is an absolute challenge, it's a national challenge, it's a national issue, and it's not helped by the fact that further education is funded considerably less well than schools. But we kind of do our best, and then the other thing that always helps is funding. We don't generate enough income or enough profit, if you like, to reinvest in fantastic buildings and facilities. We have to rely on grant funding when it becomes available. So when pots of money appear, we're on it very quickly, putting in our bids and so on. But it's difficult to plan for it because you don't know what's coming when, and you don't know which ones you're going to succeed in and fail. So just to kind of almost to finish really, is kind of how can our stakeholders help? And I didn't really know who would be around the table, but these are some of the things that will make this successful or otherwise. And it really is about those employer partnerships. I've mentioned them several times already. But we need to work with employers. We can't work in isolation, we can't work on our own. We need to hear from employers about what their future skills needs are and when. We didn't quite time it right with offshore wind and things like that. We need to get it right. We need to know what the kind of sequencing is and the requirements. We need to know what kind of facilities we need to be investing in. It is a very, very limited pot, and we don't want to waste that pot of money. It's great when we work with employers and they help us to update our tutors and teachers, and that happens. But it happens in certain areas, and it's often about people going back to their old firm or keeping in touch with their old workmates and saying, can I come and spend a couple of days? Will you come in and show us how this works? Or if we buy new kit, maybe the manufacturer of that kit will come in and kind of help update our staff, because it's really important that they don't get out of date and they're not training people for the jobs they have rather than the jobs that our students are going to have. It's great when employers actually come and co-deliver some of the curriculum. That's happened before. We've done that in areas including renewables. And it's great when we work with employers who encourage their staff, maybe those staff that are coming towards the end of their working life, to come and teach part-time. And with our relationship with the Hospitals Trust, that's happened. So we have people now who still work part-time in the hospital and actually teach for us a day a week or a couple of evenings or whatever it might be. Obviously we need employers for apprenticeships and for work placements and work experience and things like that. And just to come in and inspire young people to come and, to continue with their studies on the difficult days and to say this is possible at the end of it. I started out sitting where you are, and here I am today, or this was my career and so on. I think it's so important people see that, but it's also about, and somebody mentioned it, getting into schools. Because if they don't make the right choices when they leave school and go to college, then they sometimes close doors to themselves that could remain open. So actually it's about saying to people when they're thinking about their future at, 11, 12, 13, 14 years of age, you might want to think about a career in, and to do that, these are some of the routes through, and these are the subjects you want to focus on, and this is how you might do that, because sometimes students arrive with us at 16 and they don't really have a clue what they want to do, and when a light comes on for them, it might be too late. So they didn't pick that subject at school, or they didn't choose to do that. So it's great if they can kind of see a destination. And then always capital support for buildings and resources is great. Not that I'm going to pass a cap round or anything, although I could. So just to finish, because there was a green flavour to today's meeting, really just what we're doing, we are taking carbon reduction really seriously, both as an organisation in our own right, with a large carbon footprint, and also as an educator. And these are just some of the things that we're doing. And I realised I didn't quite finish that second bullet down because I couldn't remember the date we set. And then I went and asked, and I went and looked, and I think we didn't actually set a date. So let's say 2050 along with the government. But we did declare a climate emergency last October. We are following the FE College's roadmap to climate reduction. We've done some fantastic decarbonisation work through a grant from Salix on some of our older, less efficient buildings, which are now very efficient, producing 290 carbon tonnes a year through that work. We have got one electric vehicle, and as we replace our electric vehicles, we're going to keep, as we replace our fleet cars, we will continue with that. And we are embedding carbon literacy into every course this year. No course is allowed not to have a carbon literacy element, and they've come up with some really innovative and interesting things actually. We now have a 50-point plan for energy reduction and sustainability. That was spurred on by thinking back in August that our energy bill was going to be 2.2 million this year. Thanks to the government's recent announcements, it will be back somewhere in the region of £1 million, but nonetheless on a £37 million turnover, it's a big chunk of our income, and we need to make sure that we're preserving our energy as best we can. And we're a member of the National Energy Skills Consortium, which is actually chaired by the principal of East Coast College, when those stuff to Great Yarmouth, and we're working with them on a number of projects too. So that's me.
Thank you, Alice. That's great.
Yeah, happy to take any questions.
I have a question. So, this is one of the skills I'm absolutely strong with. It's high voltage.
Oh, okay.
As you've got electricians,
Yeah.
a lot of people, I'm a basic, low voltage electrician.
Yeah.
There's lots of us. But what we don't have is high voltage.
Okay.
That's a particular skill set.
Okay.
And there used to be a power station in Nottingham that used to do that training at winter, and they closed it down now, did my house pay for. I got to train there. So now, apart from the power station, which is a new one, with miles away.
Okay.
So something to consider, having a bit, high voltage is definitely doing more than voltage.
I'll take it back. Thank you for that. Yeah. Always good to get a lead. Yeah.
I'm so happy to come and do STEM.
Thank you. Yeah, fabulous. Yeah, and we've got hundreds of engineers in Colchester. That would be probably your first target.
Yeah, we remain really keen to work with you with swaps.
Yes.
Because,
yes.
as you said, there are employees out there, sitting next to me. Yes, they are high skill jobs, but there are other jobs that we can work on swaps. The trade, for example, across the trade, we've got money, etc. But all it takes is linking an employer to a trade, and you've got a swap.
Absolutely.
And then you've got the buy-in from customers because of the payments we explained. But they will, it's a job at the end of it, and then you get the buy-in because the problem is that a lot of people can't see the wood from the tree. They'll think they're trailing and then they might not get a job. If they've got an employer at the end of this swap, it works.
That's absolutely. People need to see that opportunity.
What's your minimum size of cohort? Because that's always the issue. When we think about high voltage and stuff like that, is actually you can only get 4 or 5 people doing it. It's not worth you running it.
There isn't a single answer to that because it depends on the programme. We could run a higher education programme where students are paying 8,000 plus per place with kind of, I don't know, 9 or 10 students and break even. And then publicly funded programmes different again. So it's hard to answer that question really, but there is a minimum cohort size. You're right to raise it. We can't just say, oh, we've got 3 people, we'll do something. Although I gather we do have 5 in the Energy Skills Centre on the programme at the moment. But we're looking to boost that because, it's too small. It's okay as a one-off, but it's not something we can sustain. So,
are you an apprenticeship provider?
Yes, massive. 1,500 apprentices. Yeah.
Well, that's great.
I
was going to say, how are you doing the time?
Yeah,
you're right. Are you on 12? Brilliant.
But yeah, I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
You might not have the answer to this right now, but I'm just curious as to job retainment after completing the courses within 6 months or a year, roughly, how many students are in?
We don't have that data. It's difficult to collect it.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult to collect it. We collect immediate destination data, so we're collecting now for last summer's leavers, but we don't go back to them again. We've got lots of anecdotal evidence, and we keep in touch with lots of our students. Many of them come back and talk to our students and things like that, but we don't have any data, I'm afraid, about that kind of longitudinal review. The DFE does a little bit, so I think we recently received some data for our 2016 leavers, but it's very, very incomplete, and they only do it from things like national available data like NR and stuff. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. It's really interesting and really good to kind of be making those connections to link up businesses with skills, because that's exactly what the development of the point. So that's excellent. Philip, do you want to kind of talk about the University of Essex and the role there?
Turning it off. Thank you. So I thought I'd talk a bit about the innovations that the university is offering and how that also supports growth. So there's a link to the skills and jobs that some of these projects can create, which is the theme for today. But first of all, just a recommendation, an offer of support. So do use your universities, do speak to them. If you have any research and development needs, if you need some talent, students or graduates or extra skills, it doesn't have to be the University of Essex. We are about 16 miles away from here in Harwich, but it could be the Institute. And Alison's been speaking about University of Suffolk, based in Ipswich. Emily Ruskin University operates here in Essex as well, and then we have the University of East Anglia in Norwich, especially in the offshore and the energy sector. They have a lot of leading research. In terms of Essex, we're one of the leading universities in the UK for a number of Innovate UK funded projects. So Innovate UK is the UK's innovation agency. They fund schemes like knowledge transfer partnerships, which I'll talk about shortly. So we've been really successful with our kind of industry collaborations in KTPs, especially over the last few years. We have over 700 academics based at the university that are very keen to collaborate, support businesses, and around 17,000 students across the three campuses in Colchester, Southend, and Blount. In terms of our research expertise, that might be aligned to some of the discussions today. We have agri-tech, which includes things like plant productivity, plant sciences, so improving the yield and productivity of farming. Sustainability is a key theme that runs through a number of strands of research around net zero, for example, but also then financial sustainability. And I think that's going to become even more important over the next few years due to the cost of living challenges. Health and well-being is another key area of research that we work increasingly with, especially the public sector and the third sector charities. We have a new Institute for Public Health and Wellbeing that was set up earlier this year. Then from our business school, we have our management science topics around organisational change, strategy, accounting and finance. And then on the technology side, Internet of Things, intelligent systems, embedded systems, and then automation, robotics, and artificial intelligence. So there's a number of ways to collaborate with Essex or other universities. The first two KTPs and Innovate UK Smart grants are there to support research and development innovation projects. We have two internal funds, one for larger corporates, the Corporate Partnerships Fund, and then for small to medium-sized enterprises, an innovation voucher scheme where you can apply for up to £10,000 to access that academic support for your organisation. Or you might want to commission some consultancy or research support directly as well. But today I wanted to focus on the Knowledge Transfer Partnerships scheme, which is funded through Innovate UK. And a KTP is a three-way collaboration between a business of any size or a not-for-profit organisation, the university, and we then come together to recruit somebody called KTP Associate, who is a postgraduate, has a postgraduate qualification, so they can have a master's degree or a PhD quite often, with the skills to then lead a strategic change project in that business. So those KTP projects, they need to be academically challenging for us, but we also need to demonstrate to Innovate UK that they'll make a difference in the kind of the bottom line of the business in terms of its competitiveness and growth. So that KTP associate will be based full-time in the business, they're employed by us, delivering and essentially project managing that KTP project. And they receive supervision from a company supervisor and an academic supervisor or an academic team who spend at least half a day a week guiding that project. And those projects can usually last, they can last between 1 year and 3 years. Our traditional KTPs are around 1.5 years to 2.5 years in length. There's funding for them, so if you're a small to medium-sized company, you're paying around 1/3 of those KTP costs. A large organisation pays half, and then charities, since this summer, only need to pay 25% of the KTP costs. To give you an idea of the annual cost of a KTP for an SME is around £30,000 to £35,000. So for that, you're getting the KTP associate, the academic supervision, equipment and training costs as well. And then for a larger business, it's around £45,000 to £50,000. As I mentioned earlier, we've done really well in KTPs over the last 3 or 4 years. We're a top-ranked university in the UK for those. We have over 40 projects at the moment. Over 80 academics that are working across a number of different departments on some of these areas that I've mentioned here. A lot of the projects are around optimization, data analytics, AI, but also around automation, robotics, and then business school topics around organizational change, for example, strategy development. And they can span all types of organizations. So we have from technology startups to manufacturing companies to companies in the rural sector, so farmers. We've got a KTP with Luckin & Sons, for example, around using robotics for strawberry picking, for T4G jams. And then the third sector as well is an increasing area for us. And then at the other extreme, you've got some global brands like Harlow, for example. I'm not going to talk about the process, but just to say that there is a very structured process to applying for the funding. We take the heavy load in terms of working on the application. We jointly then recruit if we've had a successful outcome to the application for the associate. And then on a quarterly basis, we have a project review meeting where we monitor the progress of the KTP towards the objectives. So just to highlight a few case studies, I've got 3 case studies. So the first one is from a company called Above, who do use drones to inspect the health of solar panels. And have some software solutions for that, but it's a very labour-intensive process. So to try to automate that and to support their growth, they've then partnered with us to use some artificial intelligence expertise to enable them to process those images more rapidly, more effectively, and then to be able to detect those cracks, for example, in those solar panels, which the solar farm asset managers can then view on a dashboard. So as a direct result of the KTP, they've then been able to secure some extra funding to support that growth in the business. So that was a smaller company. Then we go to the other extreme of a very large shipping company. And one of their challenges was making sure that why they came to us was trying to find a way of ensuring that the containers were in the right port or distribution centre for the company. So using predictive analytics to ensure that the resources, in this case containers, were in the right location at the right time. So that KTP is still going on, and then the final KTP, which is coming to an end, is with a business in Basildon, a supply chain company who were looking to enter the kind of e-commerce market, so innovating their business model and business strategy. And we've had academics from the business school working with them and their employees on an organisational change strategy that's spanned branding to operations management to strategy development. So those were just some of the kind of KTP examples, and to finish off on skills. So we don't have the scale of apprenticeship programs as the Institute does, but we've been running with BAE Systems and an embedded electronic systems design and development engineering apprenticeship program. So there's a bachelor's undergraduate degree program pathway. For that scheme, we run a number of health sector apprenticeships as well. And then if you or any of your employees were interested in upskilling their business and management skills, then we've got an MBA program in Essex, which can be undertaken on a part-time basis. And then specifically for the port sector, we've got a logistics and supply chain management master's program. We have other master's programs around analytics and other topics as well, but I thought that this might be the most relevant for today's discussion. And then on a customized basis, if there's a skills development need in the organization, then we can run courses in leadership management, financial management, and strategy development, for example. And then just to finish off, the university has around 17,000, maybe 18,000 students. And we have an internship scheme, so if you have any short-term project support needs, need some extra talent or ideas into organisations, then we have an internship scheme at the university, or it could be a student placement. So as part of their studies, they could undertake a business project for your organisation if there's a match with what you need and what the students are doing. And then just the final 2 points really link into the Freeport discussion today. So in addition to some of the skills that Alison and colleagues have been discussing today, the university has graduates, students in some of these areas, technology areas that I've talked about here, business and logistics and supply chain management. So then our School of Law is graduates have degrees in international commercial law, maritime law, trade law, for example. So dealing with some of the complexities of global international trade. So there's talent coming through, and hopefully that will then support strategic developments like the Freeport as well going forward. That's it.
That's brilliant, thank you, that's really good. Do you want to come back up a second and we'll take questions from the I suppose we've had a really good opportunity. The need for green jobs and for and also with the emergence of Freeport, with the potential for the maybe lack of local skills, how we bridge that gap. And I guess not just about the end game, about the skills as such and the education, but before then how to get young people energised to this industry. Maybe before they get to that stage where they're making choices about what skills that they're going to do. So just wondering what people's thoughts are.
So I go into schools and I basically only target hand, captain, gender, district and contact. And we be specific about it. We don't want to spread ourselves too thin. And target the local audience. So that's clear. And what I then need to do is try and encourage those young people at school to take up maybe physics, math, that kind of side of it, or if they're good on computer skills, be the administrators and our logistics teams, staff and IT systems. So identifying there then, but what they then need to do is when they finish school, they've got their own levels, GCSEs, what they do this week. And then be taken on to have the available opportunities to develop further those at institutes. Certainly we send our best to Lowestoft because mechatronics was saying to us there, and they were trying to run a bespoke sort of course. Wasn't quite fit the bill, so now we're doing the National College at Wales. But definitely, for me being here is to try and say, I'm going to the schools, I'm reaching out to try to see and go to the schools last week, just to try and do that. And if I get 1 or 2 hits, or 3 or 4 hits, and then they see that there's the opportunity because they might get an institute, that's the bit, that's where I'm at. And then when they finish the institute, we then take them from that opportunity with the university, depending on what they've got some level of engineering. We also have analysts who do, but they're in partnership and small little too. But they have to learn that skill set. So yeah, so I'm trying to start early and then pitch it at that level, and then so that they can advance their education to another level, and then they come out of that education to the university. And they're recruited into RWB as an organisation. So that's why I'm learning that question.
Yeah, I think, as I said earlier, it's getting to be beyond enough is really important, and it's giving them a sense of what jobs are like. There's no point in talking about job title because it means nothing to the 13 or 14-year-olds. So it's about describing a day in the life of whatever it is well. And if people are getting turned on by that idea and thinking, that sounds good, okay, what are the steps between now and there? And it's not about the levels for those students, they won't do A-levels. About 50% of students do A-levels when they're in school. Others do a vocational programme to provide those other options, because in schools, most of the people that advise young people have done, as I did, school and university route. There's less knowledge and understanding about the kind of vocational pathway post-16. So I think it's about employers working in conjunction with A-level providers and vocational training providers, so that students see the whole picture rather than the bit that whoever's advising them is familiar with and comfortable talking about.
The adult learning is the key one as well. We talk about young people, that's the key thing, but adults will change careers all the time. And the current labour market is constantly changing. The jobs aren't there for people to start. There are some wind farm jobs, hopefully, that the last 20 plus years, but it's very rare. So you've got skilled people, but they're doing other things, and that's, I think you touched on a few times, Kevin, about those vertical skills, transferable skills. And I think that's where my industry, I see people who, when they first change their career or lose their job, to rise up to people who are quite hard to help. So we need to be in there early with people who want to change their careers or have to change their careers because their jobs are not sustainable. The construction industry is a quite example. They might last, a contract, might be 6 months max, but there's always that drop off at the end of it, and if they can see a more sustainable career, which is this, the industry, whether it's part of the Freeport manufacturing industry, whenever that comes, they will start planning. Not even planning, they'll be aware of it. So we haven't got a hard selling job. They come to us and say, well, actually, we've got anything in this time because I thought that's a good career. Instead of us saying, well, that might be a good career for you, that's a problem.
I think something else that's really important and has changed very recently, we've seen among talking to employers and among apprentices and people like that, is people's attitudes towards work and work-life balance. It's very different, and that's been as recent as since the pandemic, really. That people have very different expectations around where work sits in their whole life picture. And it's been fascinating to see student behaviours and apprentice behaviours and younger but all employee behaviours change and attitudes. And the first time we've now got something like 60 engineering apprenticeship vacancies. We've never had engineering apprenticeship vacancies at all, let alone 60. And I think students are dipping their toe in some of these things, actually saying that it's not the life I want. Some full-time engineering students went off to do some work placements with particular employers and came back and, they were offering apprenticeship interviews and things. They said, oh, they want something where work isn't everything. Rightly or wrongly, and this isn't everybody at all, but there is a shift towards.
So I agree with you on that. Two things. So one of the workplace is all the workers, and I kept my operational team, my offshore team. They stayed offshore during COVID, and if you didn't use the office, you were back in your home and you were working home. You set up all the systems, all the IT, and all that. It was like being on an operational tour. It's like, I was stuck in a full operating base and I was managing, telling almost like troops doing on the job, but they weren't out of things. So it sat with me, right, to manage that, to see how that was working. But I was very precious about my apprentices, because what I didn't want them to do was involve their education to falter, because they're my future. I knew that the offshore team would be robust. They got COVID, they'd get over it. I could move my control room from one place and got contaminated to another place. It was just a bio training, it was sort of like a CBRN environment. But the attitude of those apprentices was really precious. You did not want them to fall off the rails, lose contact with their college, and had to maintain it, make sure I brought them in and managed it. That was more exhausting than keeping the lights on, and make sure that I kept my apprentices engaged. I'm fortunate that I have got my apprentices, and as a percentage of work, quite a lot, that they've got, that they get some real variety of jobs to do. They can go home and say, I was in the North Sea today. Breakfast, obviously breakfast at home in Harwich. Then I got on a boat, I was in the North Sea, had a lunch on the top of the turbine, got a bit of a tan, got down, got on the boat, now having tea at home. And that tells a story. It's quite a tough gig to get that, being that apprentice. But yeah, you've got to sell it. And how I sell it is I've got the virtual, we've invested in virtual reality, we've invested in going out, doing like say the STEM, something very much, the physical, when Kirsten came to site, we made, put a harness on and all that kind of stuff, right, get a feel for it. Was that for you? Yes or no? So it's hands-on, because it is very much a thing, but to get to that point, you've got to be, studying and get this students. You've definitely got to associate it.
How can I speak there, how you kind of find it with your kind of thinking change?
I know the market is definitely it's hard to get good quality, skilled people. You can always get people.
Yeah.
Problem is getting good people. And there are a lot of these small numbers of 3 people. It's important that you get a good team. You get them that happen, and you cause a lot of problems. So be very careful who you employ. But it is more difficult to get the right quality of people, and the cost of getting them is very high.
I would describe it as something that people have often fitted into, not quite too good, because it's a continuum really, but with people who live to work and people who work to live. And I would say that there's a gentle shift towards people working to live now.
But it is interesting. Some youngsters want to work, and others don't. And just recently, we had a service, it wasn't a big job, sort of neighbouring hotel. We had 6 youngsters coming. One of them stood out. The other 5 were letting go as quickly as he could. The other one we actually offered him full-time employment because he showed the right characteristics. Does he need training? Does he need work? Yes, but he's somebody who could rest.
And that's the beauty of the apprenticeship degree, because they're not guaranteed a job at the end of it. However, for my company, they'll take it to their quality, and they're not Gallagher people, because Gallagher companies and organisations. But RWE will pay for that apprentice, will keep them, even if there's no job, if they show the quality. Out of the 5, we'll probably take half of them, and not of them will pay for them, because there will be a project somewhere that we can employ. They will continue to work with us. A Gallup will work with 2 separate organisations. And also, I think we talked about that work-life balance, and I said we are heavily into that work-life balance. We make sure that we manage their hours, so you don't work. If they work overtime, then they can only do a certain amount of overtime. They get paid, so it's always a better balance. And yeah, it's you've got our most important asset is our people. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it's definitely true. Because we spend so much time and money investing in them. Because they don't come through the door ready-made internal technicians or logistics. We have to send them to colleges and universities. Even now, my hospital technicians are doing HNCs, they're doing it online. I'm sending them to do their HP courses, I'm sending them to Austria to learn about switchgear, transformers, because I have to invest in them. But they could walk out tomorrow. But I have to make that environment the right place because I'm investing so much in it. I'm also trying to compensate it, so I'm investing in their PWO training, their rescue pilots, their advanced rescue, the first aid, they're almost at paramedic stage, and yet they're really out there to fix the Davic crane on the turbine. But yet they're highly skilled first aiders. I don't have the opportunity. The air sea rescues that exist in the waters, I rely on the Coast Guard. I have to invest heavily into them to make sure that they can look after each other, which is deadly important, and also do the job that they're asked to do. I've been trained to do.
Just to say that, I think, because you kind of almost answered my question at the start there, Kieran, and I think it's about work-life balance. I was a 13-year-old, I was thinking, that's what I want to do. I mean, you kind of just sold me exactly what you were saying, Alison, about the job title. You're saying, describing what that job is, and nobody wants their life to start at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and it doesn't need to if you love your career. So if you're describing what you just did to 20, 12 or 13-year-olds, you're thinking, that sounds like something I want to do.
Yeah, if it's something I do want to do, I enjoy going to school. I pick the day when it's flat. And I'm not getting the paper soup where I've got to clean out the grease with the blades. Of course, it's a great job. I was fortunate, like you said yourself, we both served in the old business, and that's great up there. We consider that working actually the old working for a living, it's a great job. And I'm trying to think that this is probably the next best thing. But if I don't think that, then how can I tell somebody else that? If competition students are the best place to learn, you would stand up and tell you, you didn't think it yourself. So
I think that's as we come to the end of our time, I think that we can kind of continue to chat, I'm sure, in the ask if people want to kind of hang around and network a little bit. I just wanted to say how inspiring I've actually found the energy in the conversation today, and the kind of the commitment to tendering, and also the maybe something that's emerging, but the commitment of the tendering to security as well. So I wanted to thank obviously Kieran and for coming and talking today, but also thank all of you for coming and joining the conversation. And as you say, please to continue it for a little while and grab one of those remaining pastries that you can start with. Your third pastry. But yeah, thank you very much for listening to the team. So with that, we'll just end